Okay, so you're prepping for that electrician apprenticeship interview. And you know that Indeed article with like 65 potential questions. It can be a little overwhelming.
It really can.
We're going to help you sift through the most important ones. Not just answer the questions, but really impress them and show that you are the apprentice they've been looking for.
Absolutely. Technical skills are definitely a must, but interviewers are also looking for that right attitude, those soft skills that'll make you a great teammate and someone who's ready to learn and grow.
Okay, so let's dive into some of those general questions first. Some of them are pretty straightforward, but there are a few curveballs like, how do you respond to a busy workplace?
Hmm.
What are they really trying to figure out with that one?
I think it's really about how you handle pressure. Like when deadlines are looming or unexpected problems pop up, or maybe even when things get a little, sparky.
Right.
They want to see if you can stay focused, get the job done safely and efficiently when things get hectic.
So instead of just saying, I stay calm,
Mm.
we need to give them a concrete example.
Exactly. Think of a time when you were juggling multiple tasks or dealing with a stressful situation, maybe a project with a tight deadline or a difficult customer. What did you do to stay organized and focused? How did you communicate with others?
So acknowledge the busy environment, prioritize tasks, and communicate clearly with the team. That paints a much clearer picture of how you operate under pressure.
Absolutely. Now, another classic question that often trips people up is, what's your greatest strength and weakness?
Oh, yeah. That one always feels like a trap. Like, do they really expect us to air all our dirty laundry?
Well, honesty is important, but frame it strategically. For strengths, tie it back to the electrician profession. Are you a meticulous problem solver, someone who thrives in a team environment, or maybe you're a quick learner?
Okay, so instead of saying I'm a perfectionist, we could say something like, I'm detail-oriented, which is important for safety and accuracy in electrical work, but I'm also learning to delegate tasks and trust my teammates.
Exactly. It shows you're aware of your strengths and weaknesses and that you're actively trying to improve. Now, there's another question in that Indeed article that I found particularly interesting. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I was wondering about that one. I mean, we're applying for an apprenticeship. Do they expect us to have our whole career planned out already?
Not necessarily. They're looking for ambition and alignment with the opportunity. You don't need every step figured out, but show them you see this apprenticeship as a stepping stone. Do you dream of specializing in a particular type of electrical work, like industrial or residential? Maybe you envision leading a team or even starting your own business someday. Connect your goals to the path this apprenticeship offers.
So instead of, I want to be a good electrician,
Mhm.
we could say something like, I'm really excited about the opportunity to learn the fundamentals through this apprenticeship. In the long term, I'm particularly interested in mention a specific area, and I believe this apprenticeship will give me the foundation I need to pursue that path.
Exactly. It shows you've thought about your future and how this apprenticeship fits into your overall career aspirations. Now let's shift gears and talk about those questions that focus on your experience.
You mean even for an apprenticeship? They're asking about past projects and problem solving.
They want to see what you're bringing to the table. Even if you haven't worked as an electrician before, think about times you've had to troubleshoot problems, work with your hands, or follow instructions carefully. Maybe you helped a friend rewire a lamp, or built a bookshelf from scratch.
Right. Even if it doesn't seem directly related, we can highlight those transferable skills. Like that question, have you ever worked with a customer who changed their mind mid-project?
Yeah.
That could be from any job.
Absolutely. Think about times you've had to adapt, communicate clearly, and find creative solutions. Did you work in retail and handle a difficult customer? Maybe volunteer for a project that required teamwork and problem solving. Those experiences demonstrate your ability to handle real-world situations and work effectively with others.
Okay, that's really helpful. But what if they ask about a specific project? Like, what's the largest project you've helped complete? What if our biggest accomplishment is wiring a ceiling fan in our basement?
Even small projects can showcase your skills. Focus on the steps involved, the challenges you overcame, and the lessons you learned. Did you have to research the local electrical code? Did you encounter any unexpected problems? Did you have to troubleshoot a faulty connection? By breaking down the process, you can demonstrate your attention to detail, your problem-solving skills, and your commitment to safety, even on a smaller scale.
So it's all about framing our experiences to highlight those core electrician skills. Problem solving, attention to detail, safety consciousness, and that ability to learn and adapt.
Precisely. Now let's get to the part where things get a little more, well, shall we say electrifying. The in-depth technical questions.
Ooh, this is where I start to get nervous. These questions seem way more intense.
They can be intimidating. but they're also a chance to shine. Remember, they're not always looking for the perfect answer. They're looking for your thought process. They want to see how you approach problems logically and safely.
So even if we don't know the exact answer, we should still try to explain our reasoning.
Absolutely. Let's say they ask, if a coworker receives an electrical shock, what do you do?
I know safety is crucial, but what if I freeze up and can't remember the exact steps?
That's understandable, but instead of panicking, focus on the principles. What's the most important thing in that situation? The safety of your coworker, right? So start by thinking about how to ensure their safety.
Okay, so the first step would be to disconnect the power source to prevent further injury.
Exactly. Then you'd assess their condition and call for help. Remember, they're not looking for you to be a medical expert. They want to see that you prioritize safety and know how to respond calmly and effectively in an emergency.
That makes me feel a bit more confident. So even if we don't have all the technical knowledge yet, we can still impress them by demonstrating a logical and safety-conscious approach.
Exactly. Now let's talk about another challenging question. Describe your troubleshooting process for outages.
Troubleshooting. That sounds pretty technical. Where do we even begin?
Again, focus on the process. Think about it step by step. If you were faced with an outage, what would you do first?
Well, I guess I try to isolate the affected area. Figure out if it's just one room or one circuit, or a wider problem.
Excellent. That shows you're thinking systematically. Then you'd visually inspect the area for any obvious issues, like a tripped breaker or a damaged wire.
Right, and if I couldn't find anything obvious, I'd probably need to use some testing equipment to pinpoint the problem, right?
Exactly. Now you're demonstrating an understanding of the basic tools and techniques involved in electrical troubleshooting. And remember, always emphasize safety precautions throughout the process. Mention things like using personal protective equipment or PPE, like safety glasses and gloves, and double-checking connections before energizing circuits.
PPE, de-energizing circuits. These terms are starting to sound more familiar now.
That's great. And as you continue your training, you'll learn even more about these concepts and how to apply them safely and effectively in the field.
This is all incredibly helpful, but I have to admit, seeing all these questions laid out is still a little daunting.
I understand, but remember, preparation breeds confidence. And the good news is that, indeed, article also provides some sample answers to common questions.
Oh, that's right. But I'm guessing we shouldn't just memorize those word for word.
Absolutely not. Use them as inspiration as a framework for crafting your own responses.
So it's like having a cheat sheet. But we need to make sure the answers are authentic and reflect our own experiences and goals.
Precisely. Let's take a look at one example. They provide a sample answer for what were some general duties you handled in your last position. Even if your previous role wasn't directly related to electrical work, you can use it to showcase transferable skills.
I'm all ears. Give me an example of how we can spin a seemingly unrelated job into something that sounds relevant to an electrician apprenticeship.
Let's say your last job was as a cashier in a busy retail store. On the surface, it might not seem relevant, but think about the skills you used. You had to handle money accurately, troubleshoot problems with the register, interact with customers in a professional manner, and work efficiently under pressure.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection. So instead of just saying, I scanned groceries and bagged items, we could say something like, I was responsible for handling financial transactions accurately, ensuring customer satisfaction, and troubleshooting any technical issues with the register system. This experience honed my attention to detailed problem-solving abilities and communication skills, which I believe will be valuable assets in an electrician apprenticeship.
Exactly. You've taken a seemingly unrelated experience and highlighted the skills that are relevant to the electrician profession.
This has given me a whole new perspective on how to present myself. But before we move on to analyzing those sample answers, there's one more question from the article that caught my eye.
I bet I know which one you're referring to. What are your study and learning patterns?
It seems a bit out of place, doesn't it?
It does. What are they trying to gauge with that question? Should we all pretend to be visual learners who love hands-on experience?
Honesty is always the best policy. Think about how you learn best. Do you prefer reading textbooks and watching videos? Do you learn best by doing? Do you thrive in a structured classroom environment? Or do you prefer to learn independently? Understanding your own learning style shows self-awareness and can help you excel in the apprenticeship program.
And it shows we've thought about how we learn and how that aligns with the demands of the apprenticeship.
Exactly. Now, are you ready to unpack some of those sample answers from the Indeed article?
Absolutely. Let's see how we can turn those into our own unique and compelling responses.
All right, let's delve into these sample answers and see how we can, adapt them to your own experiences. Remember, the goal is to use these as inspiration, not as scripts to memorize.
Sounds good. So which one are we tackling first? Let's look at the sample answer for, when communicating with a customer, what information do you ensure both of you have? Now I know what you're thinking. I'm applying for an apprenticeship, not a customer service job.
You read my mind. Why is communication such a big deal for aspiring electricians?
Even as an apprentice, you'll be interacting with clients, observing how experienced electricians communicate, and learning the ropes of customer service. Think about it. Electricians work in people's homes and businesses. Being able to communicate clearly and professionally is essential for building trust and making sure everyone's on the same page.
That makes a lot of sense. So what kind of information should we be making sure we have when talking to a customer?
This simple answer highlights the importance of clear contact information, multiple communication channels, and confirming key details, like the scope of the work, the timeline, and any potential hazards. It shows you're organized, proactive, and focused on providing excellent service.
Well, it's not just about knowing how to wire a circuit. It's about being able to explain what you're doing and why it's important in a way that the customer understands.
Exactly. Now let's move on to another important topic, blueprints. The Indeed article asks about your familiarity with blueprint layouts and the types of sites you've used them on.
I've heard some people say blueprints are becoming obsolete with all the new technology out there. Do you think that's true? Or are they still essential for electricians?
Blueprints are like the roadmap for electrical work. They provide a visual representation of the electrical system, which is essential for planning installations, troubleshooting problems, and making sure everything meets code.
Yeah.
While new technologies are emerging, blueprints remain a fundamental tool for electricians.
Okay, so they're definitely not going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
But what if we haven't actually worked with blueprints before? Are we doomed?
Not at all. Be honest about your experience level, but highlight any transferable skills. Maybe you've read schematics for other projects, or you're a quick study and eager to learn. You could say something like, while I haven't worked with electrical blueprints specifically, I'm comfortable reading technical drawings and I'm eager to learn how to interpret and utilize blueprints effectively.
So even if we're not experts yet, showing a willingness to learn and adapt can go a long way. Now, what about those specific types of sites they ask about, like residential versus commercial?
Again, be honest about your experience. If you have limited exposure to different types of electrical systems, don't be afraid to express your interest in learning about them. You could say something like, my experience so far has primarily been in mention your experience, even if it's just home projects, but I'm very interested in expanding my knowledge and skills to include mention other areas you'd like to learn about.
Curiosity and a willingness to learn. Those are always valuable traits no matter what field you're in. Now, the Indeed article also includes a sample answer for a question that seems a bit more, well, philosophical. Why did you want to become an electrician?
Ah, yes, the passion question. This is your chance to let your enthusiasm shine through.
I get it, we don't want to sound robotic or give a generic answer. But what if our reason is simply, well, it seemed like a good job with good pay?
Even that can be framed in a more compelling way. What aspects of the job appeal to you? Is it the problem solving, the hands-on work, the opportunity to work independently, or maybe the satisfaction of seeing a project through from start to finish?
I see what you mean. Instead of just focusing on the practical benefits, we can talk about the aspects of the job that truly excite us. For example, we could say something like, I've always been fascinated by how things work, and I enjoy working with my hands. The idea of bringing power to homes and businesses and ensuring electrical systems are safe and efficient is something I find truly rewarding.
Exactly. You've taken a simple answer and turned it into a statement. That showcases your passion and your understanding of the impact electricians have on the world.
Speaking of impact, there's another question that really struck me. How important is safety to you while working? Like, shouldn't safety be a given in this field?
Absolutely. Safety is paramount in electrical work. But by asking this question, the interviewers are trying to gauge your level of understanding and commitment to safety practices. They want to make sure you don't just see it as a rule to follow, but as an integral part of your work ethic.
So it's not enough to just say safety is important. We need to go deeper, right?
Right. Think about specific safety practices you adhere to, even in your everyday life. Do you always wear a seatbelt? Do you double-check appliances before plugging them in? Do you make sure power tools are properly grounded? These examples, while seemingly simple, demonstrate a mindset that prioritizes safety in all aspects of life.
So we can connect those everyday habits to the importance of safety in the electrical field. For example, you could say something like, safety is something I take very seriously both in my personal life and in any work environment. I always make sure to wear appropriate safety gear, follow proper procedures, and never take shortcuts that could compromise safety.
Exactly. You're demonstrating that safety is not just a concept you understand, but a value you embody. Now let's talk about another term that often comes up in electrician interviews. Describe a time you applied complex problem solving to work around an issue. This one can be tricky because it sounds very technical.
I'm already feeling a bit intimidated. What if we haven't had a chance to work on any major electrical projects yet?
Remember, problem solving isn't limited to complex electrical systems. Think about a time when you faced a challenge, whether it was at a previous job, a personal project, or even just fixing something around the house.
Yeah.
What steps did you take to identify the problem, analyze the situation, and come up with a solution?
Okay, so I could talk about that time. I had to troubleshoot a faulty lamp in my bedroom. I started by checking the bulb, then I inspected the wiring, and finally I discovered a loose connection in the socket. It wasn't a major electrical issue, but it allowed me to apply those problem-solving skills in a practical way.
Exactly. By breaking down the process, you're demonstrating your ability to think logically, identify potential causes, and test different solutions.
And we can connect it back to the electrical field by emphasizing the importance of careful observation, attention to detail, and a systematic approach to problem solving.
Precisely. Remember, even seemingly simple experiences can be used to showcase your potential as an electrician.
Wow, this deep dive has been so helpful. I feel like we've just gone through like a crash course in electrician interview prep.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. But remember, preparation is only the first step. The real journey begins when you start that apprenticeship.
That's true. So before we wrap up, is there anything else our listeners should keep in mind as they head into that interview?
Hmm. Well, I would say confidence is key, you know? Believe in yourself, believe in your abilities. You've got this.
I love that. And you know what else can make a big difference? Enthusiasm. Let them see that spark, that passion for the electrical trade.
Oh, absolutely. When you're genuinely excited about something, it shows. And that kind of enthusiasm, it's contagious.
It's like that saying, choose a job you love, and you'll never have to work a day in your life. Of course, there'll be challenges, but when you're passionate about what you do, it makes all the difference.
Couldn't agree more. Now, speaking of challenges, I think it's important to acknowledge that the electrical field is constantly evolving.
That's a good point. Technology is always advancing. New tools and techniques are emerging. So how can aspiring electricians kind of stay ahead of the curve?
A commitment to lifelong learning is so crucial. Never stop seeking knowledge, exploring new technologies, and expanding your skill set. The best electricians are the ones who are always eager to learn and grow.
That's a great reminder for all of us, no matter what field we're in.
So as we wrap up this electrifying deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question.
Oh, I love it. I love a good brain teaser. Hit me with it.
Okay, here it is. Beyond technical skills, what personal qualities do you think make someone a great electrician? Not just good, but truly great at what they do. Wow, what a fantastic question to ponder. It really gets to the heart of what makes this profession so special. I think a great electrician possesses a unique blend of technical expertise, problem-solving abilities, and a deep-seated respect for safety. But it goes beyond that.
I'm all ears. What are those extra ingredients that kind of elevate someone to great status in the field?
I'd say it's a combination of curiosity, adaptability, and a genuine desire to help others. A great electrician isn't afraid to tackle new challenges, to think outside the box when faced with a tricky problem. They're constantly learning, evolving, and refining their craft.
It's that growth mindset, that thirst for knowledge that keeps them at the top of their game.
Precisely. And let's not forget the human element. A great electrician understands that their work has a direct impact on people's lives. They take pride in their craftsmanship, knowing that they're bringing light, power, and safety to homes, businesses, and communities.
It's that sense of purpose, that connection to something bigger than themselves, that really sets them apart.
Absolutely. So as you prepare for that interview, remember it's not just about showcasing your technical skills. Let your personality shine through. Highlight your eagerness to learn, and demonstrate your passion for the electrical trade.
That's such great advice. I feel like we've given our listeners a roadmap, not just for acing the interview, but for thriving in this exciting field.
I hope so. Because becoming an electrician is more than just a job. It's a journey of continuous learning, growth, and making a tangible difference in the world.
Beautifully said. Okay, future electricians, go out there and knock them dead. We're cheering you on every step of the way. Until next time, keep those circuits buzzing and stay curious.